Ooh, hello. I've been off for a little while. Do you remember who I am?
How could I forget you?
Oh, that's true. Thank you very much. No, hi, welcome back, everyone. Paginated Report Bear here, back after a brief hiatus, about 6 weeks or so. You know, just relaxing, spent some time at Great Wolf Lodge against my will, but no, happy to be back, and I'm very excited about today's guest, Mr. Christian Wade. Hello.
Hello, Paginated Report Bear.
Oh, your accent makes. Are you French? Oh, just kidding. Oh, just kidding. No, no, you're not French. I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So, Christian, you are a PM on the analysis services team, the premium team. Can you tell us what you do?
Yes, I drive enterprise features in Power BI, Azure Analysis Services, and SQL Server Analysis Services.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Well, nice to have you here today. I have a few questions that my audience has been, well, at least I've been interested in hearing. Hopefully my audience is as well. So what did you do actually before joining the Power BI team?
Okay, well, thank you very much for asking that. So let's see.
No problem.
Let's see. I actually look younger than I really am, believe it or not, Paggy. You don't mind me calling you Paggy. I may have called you Paggy. I saw that. By the way, Paggy, I did watch quite a few of your videos in preparation for this interview, because after you publicly crushed my compatriot Will Thompson at the Power BI Bake Off, I must admit I thought I'd better do my homework on you, and I know you're very happy about that. But actually, I saw that you actually got corrected, and you had to even.
That's true. Apologize. Mr. Matthew asked me to fess up. I did perhaps bend the rules a bit.
A little bit. But that's okay. I was there, and it was amazing. But anyway, I digress. So let's see.
No kidding.
Yeah, I actually look younger than I am. So
really?
So a long time ago, back in 2003. So I'm going to give you a long-winded verson of how did I.
I was about to say, I just wanted your last job. You know, this is kind of kind of a check the box question.
Okay, all right. So anyway, in 2003, I got into BI. I was working with people like Dan Bulos, Amir knows Dan Bulos, and I attended the PASS 2003 conference, and then just gradually over time, my career led me here. I've been in America. I'm actually an American citizen now.
Yeah, congratulations. I saw that.
Thank you very much. So I've been living in America for 12 years now. And over time, the Microsoft magnet sucked me in. Yeah.
Is that how recruiting works these days?
Yes.
I wasn't sure about that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's good. They cast a wide net. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you were saying a little bit of this before we kind of started taping here, but what are you currently working on?
We've just hit a big milestone with aggregations hitting general availability.
Big one.
The biggest scalability feature in the history of, I was going to say everything, but let's just limit it to the history of Microsoft BI.
Well, doesn't it just give you what you got in multidimensional?
Not quite, not quite. I would say that it works a little bit more cleanly than aggregations in multidimensional, especially with externally defined aggregations and petabyte scale data sets.
Who needs petabytes of data?
Well, you never know. You never know.
Oh, I see. Well, it's good to be prepared. That's true. That's true. It's kind of like an earthquake.
Well, it's like, who needs a car that does, 200 miles an hour? Well, you never know.
Oh, that's true. Okay,
but in reality, the point is that actually not everyone has a petabyte of data and a trillion rows, but many of the analysis services implementations, for example, that might need 100 gigabytes of data and multi-terabytes of data in the source can benefit significantly from aggregations by reducing the management overhead and the cost of replicating all of that data into memory. So it's very exciting from that perspective. Aggregations is now generally available.
Yay.
And thank you very much, Paggy. And so the next things that I'm going to be focusing on are bringing enterprise capabilities to the Power BI tool set, including Power BI Desktop,
cool.
things like application lifecycle management, checking files into source control. Much respect to you, by the way, in that RDL is a format that can easily be checked into source control. So we want to make sure that we get good integration with source control systems, automated build and deployment, CI/CD, diff and merge, and all of those types of things in the Power BI kind of native tool set, as well as further scalability features. So we're going to be launching large models very soon to have parity with Azure Analysis Services dataset sizes in Power BI Premium.
Ooh.
So that'll be huge. And we will also pretty soon I'll give you a kind of a flavor of what we'll be officially announcing in the not too distant future, are things like multi-node capacities that will then work with the dynamic memory management capabilities that we mentioned at the MBAS roadmap session with Amir and Arun. And the dynamic memory management capabilities will just be huge in terms of having massive data sets, because you won't need to load all of them into memory at the same time, and you'll be able to swap subsets of data sets in and out of memory, and it will really take us to the next generation of analysis services.
I'm starting to think I'm going to need petabytes of data for the size of this video.
Yes,
the length
because
of these answers.
Yes,
just saying.
I know.
Okay. Well, is that it? No, I'm just kidding. That's a lot.
Well, funny you should mention it.
No. Okay. No, I want to get to question 3. Okay. Oh, jeez. Okay. So, question 3 is actually around Aggs GA, but you mentioned something there around Azure Analysis Services and Premium, and I think that's related to something that a lot of people talk about, the XMLA endpoint, which is kind of a shorthand for a lot of things you can do. Why is the XMLA endpoint so important?
Yes, well, the XMLA endpoint, people don't realize how big a deal it is. It was announced if we first saw it come out with SQL Server Analysis Services 2005, and it's an open standard protocol that allows many vendors, not just Microsoft, to provide an interface primarily for querying, but also for managing business intelligence databases. So it provides this open platform connectivity. You can connect to a Power BI dataset using even a non-Microsoft BI data visualization tool.
Why would someone do that?
I know. I ask myself the same question every day.
I was about to say.
And over time, I think the customers will, over time, probably ask themselves the same question. And then they will just realize that.
Especially with Power BI Report Builders just sitting out there waiting.
Power BI Report Builder and Power BI Interactive Reports. However, we do allow non-Microsoft BI tools to connect to. It's just a nice thing to do. Absolutely. And also for management and community tools and the programmability and scripting and being able to deploy models across environments and all of the manageability capabilities that you get in analysis services will be migrated over to Power BI. Power BI will inherit all of that from analysis services because it runs, or Power BI data sets at least run on the analysis services engine.
Yep. So I'm going to make a little bit of news here today. I've never announced this publicly, but with the May edition of Power BI Report Server, the XMLA endpoint actually works in that edition.
Brilliant.
It works. So Power BI Report Server customers, if you have Premium, which I know some of you do, then you can use your Power BI datasets deployed in the cloud and build reports in Power BI Report Server.
Wow, amazing. Much respect.
Very cool, very cool stuff. So we've obviously supported that with paginated reports in the cloud, but for people who are still using Power BI Report Server as well, you can use it there. So
fantastic.
There you go. No, so I was giving you a little. We'll see how many people are watching and pick that up. So okay, cool. So one of the things you're known for is Mr. Demonstration. You go out and do a lot of demonstrations. Have you always enjoyed doing public speaking?
I have always enjoyed doing demos, and I used to, back in the day, apply to present at PASS. I think actually my first PASS presentation was at PASS Europe 2005. Ooh. I remember going there with Chris Webb, and Chris Webb was doing a session on multidimensional. And guess what I was presenting on, Pagy?
Multidimensional.
No. I was presenting on SQL CLR in the SQL Server Relational Database Engine in SQL Server 2005. That was
I can't believe I didn't get that.
Yeah. Well, I thought
it was on the tip of my tongue. I apologize.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries.
No.
And so I've enjoyed it for a long time. I enjoy it a lot. I love feeling the energy from the audience. I like to meditate before I go on stage.
He does. He actually meditates.
I actually do to be in a good mind frame to really feel the energy of the audience. So I absolutely enjoy it.
Okay, cool. So one of the things you're obviously known for is the whole Clicky, Draggy, Droppy thing, which of course, as a paginated report bearer, I'm not as big a fan of because that's not really my thing. Yeah. But was that something, so you did that one of your very first talks, was that spontaneous or was it planned or?
It was, the first time I used it was actually at doing a training for a customer. I used to be a contractor for Chevron, and I used to go around the oil fields training oil field workers on how we were implementing a system with SharePoint and analysis services, and I was going around there visiting all the oil fields, and it just came out and it stuck, and I've been using it ever since.
Oh, neat. No, so okay, all right. I was always wondering where that kind of came about because it always seemed like it was a spontaneous thing. So you mentioned you are working on SQL Server Analysis Services. What's coming for Analysis Services 2019?
Well, we have calculation groups that we announced, which is the tabular equivalent of calculated members in multidimensional, which people like Marco Russo and Chris Webb would be very happy to tell you is a huge feature. Probably, I think Chris.
They didn't mention it during my interviews with them.
Well, I think Chris did a blog post that said this is pretty much one of the biggest features ever to be launched in Tabular.
Does anyone read that thing? Oh, I'm just kidding.
They do.
I'm just kidding, Chris. I kid because I love it.
So this is a huge feature for these large complex models with lots of calculations, because it allows the reuse of calculations in a very kind of elegant way, if I may say so, where you can reuse calculations in a tabular model. And it's probably, if you ask people using multidimensional, what's the number one reason that you don't migrate to tabular, they'll probably tell you that they require scoped cell assignments to populate or to for calculated members. And so now we have the majority of that functionality in Analysis Services Tabular with calculation groups. So that's very exciting. You
sure they wouldn't say DAX? Oh, snap! Okay. So speaking of my favorite topic,
I knew this question was coming. This much I knew.
It's coming. So what advice would you give folks who are hoping to learn the incredibly difficult language of DAX? Maybe I'm overstating. Be open to the concepts, and if you think about how you don't need all of those joins, and you can just ask a simple question. Joins.
And I know you do. And by the way, I love T-SQL as well.
There we go.
And I actually had a T-SQL background before I then learnt MDX. And
impossible.
I did, and I then embraced MDX and the concepts of MDX, and and actually coming from MDX to DAX made it easier, because there are some concepts in MDX like the coordinates of a cell determined by the current member of every hierarchy in the cube, which whereas DAX is the current rows in filter context, but there's still some kind of an overlap there, and personally I found it easier to learn DAX, and I do like the fact that DAX deals with multi-value filters and multi-row filter context much more elegantly actually than MDX is one of the reasons I really like DAX.
In fact, you helped the Paginated Report team implement multi-value parameters for DAX support, didn't you?
That's true. I'll take the credit.
I'm about to say you can take the quote-unquote credit for that one as well. Yes, we've had some challenges of that particular item.
I'll take the credit for that.
Okay, go finally. So, would you care to comment on the new British Prime Minister, even though you're an American citizen?
You know what? I'm not that into politics. I don't. I try to focus on things that don't make me depressed. So
fair enough.
yeah.
But you spend a lot of time with Dax.
yeah.
Only kidding, only kidding. I know Marco's going to send me another nasty email. I apologize ahead of time. So cool. So this was great. I learned a lot of new stuff about what you were working on and some of your thoughts. Who would you like to see me interview next?
There's one person I'd really like you to interview, Paginated.
Okay.
That is Satya Nadella. Satya Nadella. I'd like
Really?
to see you interview.
Okay, well, I'm going to send him a calendar appointment right after this. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
So,
All right.
I'm sure he watches these religiously.
Yes.
So, okay, cool.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Christian
Thank you
Wade. This
so
was
much.
a real pleasure. I really enjoyed